Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is your host Majestic speaking with another episode of Mechwarrior Online here. And today is Patch Note Day, and with it comes a laundry list of additions that PGI plan to implement into the game. Highlighting first with what I have before you, this is the 65-ton clan heavy Omni-Mech, the Linebacker. And along with him comes also a laundry list that I mentioned. The clan heroes are set to make their way into the game at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time as opposed to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time with the rest of the patch. They made an update on the forum announcing the delay, and I'm guessing it's just due to the patch size. They wanted to separate it into two so they were smaller. I'm not really sure what the reason was behind it, but they are set to still make their way into the game today, so just hold on tight. They will be injected into your accounts later. Along with new cockpit items, titles, badges, decals, they made some gameplay adjustments that deal with the weapon systems that we're using, cooldowns, velocity, spread reductions. There's a laundry list that I'm not really going to dive into, but I will leave the patch note link in the description as well in case you guys do want to see where all the changes are. But essentially, a lot of people are already talking about there are some major differences with using LRM-20s and AMS. So if you want to check those out, in case those are weapon systems that you're interested, that seems to be what everyone is highlighting in the game right now. Now, they also made some mech pattern retrofits, other like minor fixes and changes, and just some other kind of miscellaneous stuff. So I'll leave the link in the description in case you guys want to check them out. But for today, what we're going to here to check out and mess around with on the Battlefield's first day of its release, first unboxing is the Linebacker. And in front of you, as I do with all my first day unboxing videos, is I like to take out the hero variant. So this is Redline. Now, before we dive into the actual gameplay, we're going to go through the nitty-gritty details of this mech. In case you guys weren't checking out the specs beforehand, I wanted to at least summarize them for you in this beginning part of the video so that you know exactly what you're getting into. Now, before we actually go through the garage and my loadout and everything, I wanted to point out that this mech is completely mastered. I invested a ton of GXP to get this thing completely mastered for you guys on the first day of its release so that you could see it from an optimal perspective. I want you guys to know 100% what you're getting fresh out of the box, and if you were to invest that time, energy, and effort really to get this thing mastered for yourselves, what you would be getting, ultimately what you'd be getting. So I hope you guys can understand and appreciate it from that perspective. We're going to go through everything on this mech, but first and foremost, again, this is a 65-ton clan heavy Omni-Mech. So you're not going to have that tonnage that we're used to. But before we dive into the loadout I placed on this mech, first and foremost, we're going to go through the summary list of both the hardpoints and quirks available for this particular variant. So first and foremost, we have 1 ballistic, 5 energy, 1 missile, 0 AMS, and 0 ECM. That goes along with a quirk summary of acceleration, deceleration rate, turn rate, and torso turn rate, and armor and structure bonuses. Now, that last part is absolutely critical. Because of the fact that this is only a 65-ton heavy, they're giving us some additional structure and armor to work with to make up for the fact that, again, we're a 65-ton clan heavy. So definitely a little bit longer of a list than we would normally expect in that quirk summary list for a clan heavy. Now, there are 2 weapon quirks that are applicable on this mech as well, and that includes ballistic cooldown of 10%, and missile cooldown of 15%. So before, what we were normally seeing is a 5%, maybe 10% bonus to our weapon quirks. Now we have a 10 and a 15% bonus to our weapon quirks. Now, there are only 1 hardpoint of each, so there's only 1 ballistic and 1 missile hardpoint. But still, that's still going to play a factor out there in how I'm actually going to play this mech on the battlefield. So let's dive now into the actual loadout that I placed on this thing. First note that I want to mention is I did not take out any of the Omnipods. This is how this mech comes stock with its given Omnipod. So it does have 1 hardpoint in the right arm for missiles. Then it has 3 energy hardpoints in the right torso, 2 energy hardpoints in the left torso, and then 1 ballistic hardpoint in the left arm. So, I know we went through the summary of everything, but it's very important to understand where those hardpoints are distributed. So, I told myself ahead of time, I'm going to keep the stock Omnipods on there, but a custom loadout. And there were a couple stipulations that I also gave myself. I wanted to stick to my role as a skirmish brawler. I wanted to make sure I at least had that 1.2 heat management ratio. And I also wanted to take advantage of every single hardpoint and therefore every single quirk. So those are my stipulations going in. I messed with a couple of builds. I ran with a few of them, and it just didn't work out. And this is the one that I finally came up with, and it's an absolute monster. I love it. Now, one thing also I want to point out about the linebackers, not one of the variants has a hard point in the head. None of them have ECM, none of them have mask, and none of them have jump jets. So I do think that that's fair. I will point out the reasons why in just a second. But as for what I actually placed on this mech, I put a Clan Ultra UAC 5 in there, so Clan UAC 5. It used to have a Clan UAC 10. And it was just very, very heavy. It was taking up a lot of tonnage. I couldn't fill out the rest of the mech how I wanted to and keep a decent heat management ratio. I originally had 4 mediums on there, so I wasn't using all the hard points, and the mech was just smoking hot. I think it came out to a 1.17 heat management ratio with everything else you see here factored in. So it just wasn't conducive to a good strategy. That even added an extra heat sink on there, so it had 15 double heat sinks as opposed to the 14. And it just, again, I really wanted to stick, to that heat management ratio of 1.2 at least, and then also take into consideration all of the hard points. So I knew going in that it was probably going to be between mediums and small pulses, or even smalls that I was working with. And so what I did was, again, I took off that UAC 10, placed a UAC 5. It does have 2.5 tons of ammo on there, so not necessarily a lot of ammo, but enough to do what the job is that it's really intended to do. And for the energy hardpoints, all 5 energy hardpoints are occupied with small pulse lasers. So we have 3 in the right torso, 2 in the left torso. And again, I wanted to take advantage of every hardpoint, and therefore I just had left the missile hardpoint in the right arm. That's the only one I had left, and in order to fit something in there and not take up extra tonnage, fit with the heat management ratio, and not have to worry about Artemis or anything, I placed an SRM-4 in that right arm. So, again, everything on this mech is filled out, completely applicable, takes into consideration all of the quirks, so I do get a cooldown bonus on this UAC 5, 10%, and a cooldown bonus on this SRM-4 of 15%. So definitely huge when you take everything into consideration. Now again, it is a 65-ton heavy, so I occupy all 65 tons, 60 out of 78 slots. Now this is one thing that we have to take into consideration, and it is absolutely huge. 422 points of armor. It also has a 1.23 heat management ratio and 14 double heat sinks, 43-point alpha, so not huge where, you're seeing it on the heavier mechs in the, the heavy weight class, but it also has a 104.5 speed, top speed with speed tweak, which is absolutely insane. That is Stormcrow speed, ladies and gentlemen. So this thing is bolting around out there on the battlefield. Now, it might not have the number of hardpoints that you would see in some of the other heavy mechs in your garage, but it does play a particular purpose. And what that purpose is scoot and shoot. Rinse and repeat, scoot and shoot. So, again, all you're doing with this mech, really, for the most part, is getting into a situation where you can actually use that 105 kph, bolt into a situation, lay down some fire, and then scoot back. So really, if you love that type of gameplay, this is the perfect mech for you because it has the bulkiness of a heavy, the speed of a medium, and a pretty decent loadout overall that, now has some quirks to go along with it even, that's actually just makes it even more beneficial. So, if you ask me, it's definitely a great mech, just from, looking at it in its form right here, in the garage, first perspective of it, with all the armor and everything taken into consideration. We have 52 more points of armor than you would on a Stormcrow. Now, the Stormcrow, you could obviously put a ton of, laser boat it, streak boat it, whatever your liking is. But again, we're taking into consideration the fact that this thing is running just as fast as that Stormcrow and does have 52 more points of armor than the Stormcrow. Again, it has some high mounts worked in there. I know that people are going to turn this into maybe a PPC kind of sniper. Again, you have 105 kph to work with, so you can technically be that sniper. And you do have the structure to work with, so you can you can not only get yourself into the position of laying down some fire, but if you were to receive some return fire, you know this mech can handle it. So this is extremely, extremely important in understanding how your role can be manipulated out there on the battlefield. So again, that's just a couple of things that I wanted to make mention to you guys. I wanted to fill this mech out completely. You know, it doesn't have jump jets, but it does have an XL 390 in there, so it's a huge engine. It doesn't have mask, it doesn't have ECM or anything, and it doesn't have any like unique hardpoint in the head. You know, one thing I do want to point out is I'm kind of glad they didn't put any of that in here for any of the variants, just because obviously if it's an Omni mech, people will just switch out the hardpoints where needed in order to apply the ECM for instance. So that's just one thing that I realized. I think it's pretty balanced across the spectrum for every variant. I understand its role, and where the trade-off mainly comes from is you have less of an alpha, but you have more of a specific role that you would actually want to play with this mech. It's bulky, it's tanky, it's got a decent size alpha for what it's worth, and ultimately you're shooting and scooting with 105 kph to work with. So fantastic, overall perspective for, in thinking about. This is like, kind of mind-blowing for me because I've never seen, and none of us have ever seen a heavy mech go 105 kph before. I mean, it just hasn't been possible. But now you take into consideration this 65-tonner that's kind of changing the game and has some bonuses to it between the structure, the armor, that really make it conducive to using in not only a particular role, but a great role actually out there on the battlefield. Adds just an extra element, an extra variable that we're going to have to take into consideration. As for the modules, as you guys can imagine, I'm going to stack on top of those quirks as best I can. And I'll explain in just a minute why I didn't cater anymore to the ballistic quirks. But first and foremost, the mech modules that I placed on there. I have an advanced seismic sensor because obviously if I'm shooting and scooting, I don't want any pesky lights or mediums to come and flank me or harass me in any capacity. And even if they do, I know that I could keep up with them for at least a little bit before they might outpace me. So if they do decide to get in my face or even start harassing me from a distance, if I can close that distance on them, they're going to be in a world of hurt. I have a much bigger alpha to deal, and I have decent speed, but they can get away. So again, you will be able to chase them off, and they'll probably think twice before trying to harass you again. So again, advanced seismic sensor, that gives me the 250 meters of range to know where any opponents are via vibrations in the ground. Radar deprivation, absolutely critical for the role that I just explained. Again, if we're shooting and scooting, you want to be completely hidden when you're scooting. If you're behind a wall, you want to be completely unknown to the enemy. So it's a silent, stalky, bulky killer, if you ask me. And with radar deprivation, I think that is absolutely essential, regardless of what your role is with this mech. So definitely take that into consideration as one of the modules that you place if you decide to, go and get it. If you have it and you're going to master it and you want to fill that second slot for the modules, or a third slot for the weapon modules, I would consider the radar deprivation is absolutely critical. Again, just to be completely hidden once you actually scoot out of the position that you took before when you unloaded your alpha. As for the weapon modules, Clan SRM4 cooldown level 5, so that adds another 12% on top of the missile cooldown of 15%, so it has a 27% cooldown on that SRM4. Now, it's not a huge amount of damage that you're doing with that SRM4, but again, to put down, just if you're breaching that threshold, for instance, you could keep firing off this SRM4 and not overheat. I mean, it's a very, very sustainable amount of damage that you'll be able to put down. And essentially, until you get yourself into scoop mode, you can keep firing off those missiles without worrying about, overheating necessarily or taking a heat penalty because you can't use your other weapons before overheating. So definitely something I wanted to take into consideration. A 27% bonus to that cooldown on the SRM4 that I have. And then Clan Small Pulse Laser cooldown level 5, that applies a 12% cooldown to my energy hardpoints. So I have 27% on my missile hardpoints, I have 10% on my ballistic hardpoints, and now I have 12% on my energy hardpoints. So ultimately, this is a very, very strong and unique mech to use out there on the battlefield. Now, this is just from, the perspective of seeing it here in the garage. We're going to go through the gameplay, and you guys can see for yourself how it actually performs. But from the perspective of looking at it here in the garage, definitely unique, definitely awesome to have every single, not only weapon type be filled, but also have quirks and modules that we can apply onto this thing to make it even more potent out there on the battlefield and quick in its release. So again, I do have the, the 14 double heat sinks on there, the 1.23 heat management. Hopefully, even if I wind up chain firing, it'll work out in my favor. If I do overheat, if anything, it's probably going to come from an alpha. So we'll have to see how it actually performs. As for the consumables, we have a Cool Shot 9x9 and the improved airstrike on here. But that's enough. That's enough for what we have here. We've done enough explaining on this mech. It's time to actually hit the battlefield now with the Clan Hero Heavy, the Linebacker Redline. Alrighty guys, as you can see, we are going to be playing our one and only round on Crimson Strait. A very unique map to play with this mech, especially given the fact that we have both cover and open terrain that we can navigate through. Now, what a majority of the times happens is we just all kind of swing around on the outside flank going up the Charlie line, and then swing in to try and take them on the platform, both from the top and the bottom, and hopefully, just kind of catty corner them. I'm going to suggest to the team that we go saddle, but we'll just have to see who actually wants to do that kind of idea, just to mix it up a little bit. And usually majority rule here, obviously I'm not going to go push that by myself, but we'll see what everyone has to say about it. And no response just yet. Yeah, that was a fail. No one really wants to do a saddle push. That guy's looking at me funny. Hi. And we're just going to move on here. Okay, we're going through the tunnel then. Typical game now. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through the tunnel, but we're going to go through the side entrance just to at least see if we see anything across the way. We have 105 kph again to work with, so again, if we do get spotted or anything, we'll be able to dip out pretty quick. Yeah, we do have some movement over there, but no one to target us, no one to put down any damage on us, per se. Probably their last, their Charlie Lance, I believe, that started out in the Charlie 5 quadrant, roughly. And so we're going to take the traditional position on this side. We're going to sit here near the ramp. We're going to check the overwatch if there is any. Looks clear so far, so this is kind of interesting. I'm not really seeing any movement. I mean, we had a couple of them show up, but doesn't really look like they're doing much. And now we're going to swing around the corner. Is there anyone home underneath? And it looks like we do. Okay, so we have Direwolf. He's just chilling underneath there. He's going to put down some fire on us. Not really doing much damage, but we were able to put some fire down on him. We'll use some more autocannon fire. Just, again, to let him know we're here. Poke him. He's down to 70. He's in the 60s, actually, now. So we're actually going to push in. We're going to use this pillar as a little bit of a disguise. And, again, we're charging in at 105, roughly. So we'll be able to get at least one surprise on him. And we do, and he spots us, so he's able to put down some damage back on us, but the trade-off was definitely in our favor. We got a full alpha on him as opposed to him laying down some DACA on us. We really did that okay. Put down some shots on the rest of their team that looks like they're at the top of the saddle. So I think they were trying to maybe get a saddle push on us, but now they're realizing that a majority of our team is here. And that guy did spray me with some PPC fire. Got a little bit of an amber right arm there. But we're going to stand our ground. We have the support of our friends here. We're going to get some extra shots down. And it looked like he had another target in mind, so we're going to get some damage in on him. Poking back out here again, scoot and shoot. And this Kodiak looks like he's not even going to pay attention to us. So we're going to get some free damage very, very quickly. And he's shut down. But because I'm getting focused by the enemy, we're going to back out behind the wall so that we can dip into cover, be immediately invisible. And that Kodiak is still trying to get out of the fray here, but I have the support of my friends. I took some extra fire, but that is totally fine. And we have a Nova out there in the water, and it looks like he might be there by himself. You know what? This actually might be a good opportunity to see the closing speed on this thing and see if we could take this guy out. So you know what? we're going to actually go for this Nova. We're going to go face tank him completely, and I don't think he realizes the potency that this mech could be capable of, especially given the closing speed. Component destroyed, taking out 2 of those large lasers, getting up real close and personal now. Our heat is getting it really, really hot. Full alpha, get the kill. Unfortunately, we do overheat, and you hear those war horns going off. So that is definitely a great test. Great closing speed. Was able to take out that harassment sniper kind of Nova that was plaguing us from in the water. But now we're going to make our way back to the core of the battle, and we are down 4-3 at this point. Going to just keep picking and choosing our spots to shoot from. Now, we're not really getting many signals. We have a couple mechs that are up top. We have this Cataphract who's just chilling here. And we had a linebacker that was on the other side of the platform, but we're going to swing around, just check overhead at least to see if anyone is trying to get any shots peeking down on us. But we do, if you look at my armor right now, yes, it's yellow and it's amber, but we still have a majority of our armor there despite all the hits that we've taken thus far. So durability test is definitely in check. And it looks like I'm going to get some support with this rifleman. We're both going to go up the ramp here, and I'm going to take the right flank. So I hope he goes up. If he doesn't, then I guess I'll play more support. Yep, he's staying here, so I'm going to move up. Looks like that guy on top of the saddle is looking our way. But we do have a fresh, meaty target, Foxtrot, which is that Cataphract, taking off his arm. There it goes, and he's completely cored. Ultimately, we get him with the small pulses, and there he goes. And now it's 7-5. Drastic switch, but this Nova, with the 2 power gloves on his arms, he's going to chew through my armor almost entirely. And I'm going to get hit with some missiles, but this thing just keeps moving, ladies. Yes, it's cored, but it's only a little bit of an amber, like yellow amber. And ultimately, we get that kill on the Nova. He did not enjoy that one bit. He went into cover, thought he got away from me, but with that 105 kph, was definitely able to swing in there and ultimately get the kill on him. And we have this guy who looks like he's trying to hide. One guy that's up top on the saddle. Yep, another linebacker. We're going to get the assist on him. So ultimately, he's going to go down. And this Mad Dog, he's kind of just chilling there, checking everything out. Not really focusing on us because we have a friendly up there that he's focusing on, and ultimately our team gets the kill. 10-6 at this point, so there's 2 of them left. One of them right here in a Kit Fox. Or a Shit Fox. Target acquired. And we're just going to put some damage down on him with the rest of the team. And it looks like, I thought that he was going, is he going away? Yeah, okay, so he might drop down here. No, he's just oscillating back and forth, so he's clearly realizing the world of hurt that he's in at this point. And he just kind of gives himself up, puts it down as much damage as he possibly could, and ultimately our team gets the kill. 1 left. I don't know why, but I feel like there's something over here. And there he is, Delta 4. I had a feeling that there was something that probably went, you know, somewhere in this direction. Another sniper, so they probably were trying to set up Overwatch with the Nova. And now this guy, Alpha, we have yet to see what he is. Still haven't gotten information on him. A Huntsman, interesting, a Huntsman with a Gauss rifle and a PPC, so definitely potent, and he saw me. He got some damage down on me early, and there he goes. He takes off my torso. I'm left with 3 small pulse lasers. I'm going to use my tankiness to get me through this, and ultimately, my teammate gets the kill. We survived. So ultimately providing that distraction for the rest of the team, and they were able to land the killing blow on him. Let's see the result here. 3 kills, 7 assists, 933 damage with 5 components destroyed. Unbelievable. First impressions of this mech are absolutely fantastic. I have a feeling I'm going to have a ton of fun with this guy, topping the leaderboards from a team perspective. Overall, I had just a blast playing this round. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Mechwarrior Online. If you liked the video, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions below, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care, guys.